Carlton Waterhouse, as many of you know, most of you know, he serves as the Deputy Assistant Administrator for EPA's Office of Land and Emergency Management. He was appointed to this position by President Biden in February of 2021. In addition to overseeing the Brownfields program where we work, he also is responsible for overseeing the Superfund program, the Office of Resource Conservation and Recovery, the Office of Emergency Management. And the Office of, Federal Facilities, Cleanup and Restoration. Carlton began his legal career as an attorney with EPA, where he served in both the Office of Regional Counsel in Atlanta, Georgia, and in the Office of General Counsel here at headquarters. Before rejoining EPA in 2021, he held a joint appointment as a professor at the Howard University School of Law and the Howard University School of Divinity. Carlton is a Fulbright research scholar and widely considered an international expert on environmental law and environmental justice. And lastly, we're thrilled to have him as our assistant administrator because he cares passionately about the work that we're doing in our program. Catherine, thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine and David, for those kind remarks. I'm so happy to be able to kick off today's workshop and, more importantly, to bring these conversations about strategies centered on equity to the forefront of Brownfields redevelopment discourse. I know some of you all have been engaging around equity discourse and Brownfields for some time, and we're really happy here at EPA to match or at least to follow in those wonderful footsteps. I think implicitly, Brownfields is a program that within the agency we've thought about reaching out and being able to benefit disadvantaged communities in rural areas and in small towns and big cities. And that's what the Brownfields grants have done. They've gone directly to communities. They, even though we have some funding that goes to the states, other funds go directly to communities. And that's been the history of the program. And it's really important benefits that it's been able to provide. But we are really happy that under the leadership of President Biden and Administrator Michael Regan here within EPA to center equity in this work within the federal government in a way that I'm not clear has ever been done before. And so we've really focused in our conversations here internally at EPA on how we can build community capacity so more people are able to benefit from the Brownfields revitalization programs, funding, and resources. The program provides grant funding, which is often in the form of early financial investments into the cleanup and redevelopment of a project. That initial project could be to clean up a site that has contaminated, asbestos. It could be lead in the paint. It could be contamination in the soils. It may not even be contaminated. It may just be a perception contamination because of the type of operation that was formerly there. All of these represent opportunities for the federal government to step in to support communities that want to see transformation of structures that are present or land that is present and not being used to the kind of vision that that community has. And what we want to have happen is that these initial investments are able to serve as sparks for transformation within communities. And so one of the things we're hoping to get out of our time together today is how communities can best prepare for and direct the changes that can follow from redevelopment, how brownfields redevelopment can be part of the solution to displacement. You know, in all of my conversations with the staff, since we've been talking about equity in the program during the time I've been here, I've emphasized the concern that's been raised about brownfields that we really need to make sure is addressed. And that is that in too many cases, and we saw it in some, maybe 15% of those of you who were polled, you've said that what you've seen come out of brownfields development is housing displacement. We need to make sure that brownfields redevelopment is a solution to displacement, not a cause of displacement. And we want to be able to have a grants program that is going to cement social cohesion and foster social cohesion in communities and to provide the kind of support that's necessary for residents and businesses and other organizations and entities to be able to maintain historic communities and community identity. And so another question we have is how we can ensure people who live in communities with brownfields can also be able to work together to form and inspire the vision that they want to see for redevelopment. Now, our administration, I mean, the Biden-Harris administration, that is, has made clear that advancing equity and racial justice requires a whole of government approach, and EPA stands ready to meet that call. So shortly after our administrator, Michael Regan, was sworn in, he directed leadership and all of EPA staff to make sure that we're embedding environmental justice into our work and to everything that we do. And that includes promoting equity as a critical part of the way brownfields redevelopment and reuse is advanced. And so we see this work at the heart of what we do at EPA. And that means we are working to tackle the climate change crisis and to protect human health in the environment and ensure that development that takes place is equitable development. In addition to promoting equitable development, our goal for anti-displacement considerations to be included in redevelopment projects is to ensure that people who've suffered from the longstanding pollution and contamination also benefit from the revitalization and the transformation that comes. And so meaningful community engagement is a key part of this work for understanding the burdens that communities face so that projects that we're helping to fund can help develop solutions that are tailored to the community members who are there. So we're really excited about all this work we're doing and what the future has in store. And because I did see a question come up, I'm just going to take an extra 30 seconds to explain that we have been the beneficiaries of additional funding from the president and the Congress under what we call the bipartisan infrastructure law. And that law is seeing that there is an additional $1.5 billion investment in the Brownfields program over the next 5 years. That investment means we have more money for people on the ground to assess their communities, to see what contamination, if any, is there, more money on the ground for the cleanup of contamination that is found, more money on the ground for training people. We plan to train over 3,600 people to move into a career into environmental cleanup programs. And we expect to see a placement of at least 2,500 more people in programs through our Brownfields grant program work. We also plan to see cleanups happen in hundreds of places around the country, and we're expecting 18,000 more assessments to occur through the funding that we're providing. And so to help us in this work, I'm really excited that we are working